There is a type of flooring that HGTV has sold to millions of Americans over the past decade. It appeared in every episode of Fixer Upper, every home renovation video on YouTube, and every showroom from Texas to California. Now, it is warping, gapping, and losing value right under the feet of those who installed it. And that is just one of the 8 flooring mistakes I need to warn you about today, before you sign a contract with your contractor. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. 1. Peel and stick vinyl tiles. You go on DIY videos and see someone finish installing a floor in just one afternoon. No contractor needed, no glue, and the cost is under $200. The videos always look beautiful, but I have ripped this type of flooring out of people's homes enough to know its dark side. The root issue of peel and stick lies in the very thing that makes it appealing: the adhesive backing. It sounds convenient, but that glue cannot withstand real-life conditions. Moisture changes, fluctuating temperatures, subfloor expansion, and contraction. All of these cause the adhesive to degrade faster than you think. After about 6 to 8 months, the tile edges start curling up, especially in high-traffic areas like hallways, in front of the kitchen stove, or in front of the bathroom vanity. When the edges curl, dirt, grime, and water seep underneath, accumulating in gaps you cannot see. At this point, you do not just have an ugly floor. You have a breeding ground for mold growing right beneath your feet without you even knowing it. And when you rip it up, the adhesive pulls up the finish of the subfloor underneath. If there is hardwood underneath, my condolences. I have seen clients spend $3,000 to $4,000 to refinish their hardwood floors, all because of a $2 vinyl tile stuck on top. Saving money on the front end means paying triple on the back end. And here's a truth that few people talk about openly. In today's US market, middle-class and above clients view this flooring as cheap. It is categorized as a temporary DIY fix or low-end rental grade. Any buyer walking through the house will immediately recognize it as temporary stick-on flooring, and the impression they get is the homeowner is trying to hide an underlying issue. According to the National Association of Realtors, refinishing hardwood floors yields an ROI of about 147%. If you are on a tight budget but still want the look of real wood, ClickLock LVP, a type of floating floor, is where you should look. It costs around $2 to $4 per square foot compared to $1 to $2 for peel and stick, but the difference in quality is massive. The ClickLock system keeps the planks locked in place, offers much better water resistance, and lasts 10 to 15 years instead of just 1 to 2 years. When choosing LVP, you need a minimum 20 mil wear layer for scratch resistance, wide planks with a matte finish, and realistic wood grains in the leading tones: white oak, light maple, walnut, or hickory. These are tones that will not go out of style 10 years from now because they do not chase trends. They are the baseline. The next type I am about to talk about, once installed, you will have to look at it every day for 20 years, and your eyes will not be able to take it. 2. Busy patterned tiles. Instagram and Pinterest are pushing Mediterranean-style cement tiles and black and white geometric patterns as the pinnacle of design. A top-down photo featuring an entryway floor laid with encaustic tiles, a coffee cup placed next to a potted plant. It looks incredibly artistic. But you do not live in that photo. You live with 100 square feet of geometric patterns screaming at your face every morning at 6 a.m. This year, as the rustic minimalist movement takes over, these types of floors have become what the design world bluntly calls visual torture. Dense patterns over a large surface area give your eyes no place to rest. You love it for the first 2 weeks. By the 3rd month, your eyes start getting tired every time you look down. By the 6th month, you start arranging furniture to cover it up. Experienced interior designers call this phenomenon visual fatigue. Your brain simply does not want to process that much visual information every single day. The worst part is that overly loud patterned tiles will clash for visual real estate with everything else in the room: kitchen cabinets, light fixtures, furniture, and wall art. When the floor screams first, nothing else gets a chance to speak. You cannot lay down a patterned area rug. It will clash immediately. Your furniture must remain plain. The entire palette of the room is controlled by the floor, and you are locked into that choice. The house ends up looking much more cluttered and cramped than it actually is, and the price to escape this mistake is not cheap. Handmade encaustic tile can cost up to $15 to $25 per square foot just for materials, plus installation costs of around $8 to $12 per square foot. If you want to change it, you have to demo it, clean it out, and retile from scratch. There is no such thing as tiling over it or painting it over. All that money becomes a sunk cost. Today, instead of creating a focal point with tile patterns, designers are creating visual interest through layout, patterned layouts. Specifically laying floors in a herringbone or chevron pattern, but using wood flooring in natural tones. You still get that interest on the floor without the visual fatigue, because the pattern comes from the layout arrangement, not from a printed graphic on the tile surface. The eye recognizes the pattern but is not overwhelmed by it. If you still want to use patterned tiles, limit them to small areas, 20 to 30 square feet in a powder room or a laundry room. Spaces where you step in and out quickly before your eyes have time to get tired. You might be thinking, then just choose a neutral tone to play it safe. Be careful. There is one safe tone that is making millions of American homes look like abandoned hospitals. 3. Gray-toned flooring. About 10 to 15 years ago, gray flooring exploded across the United States. Builders made it the default. Flippers chose it because it looked modern. Showrooms displayed it right at the front, and at that time, it truly was mainstream. But every trend has its expiration date. And for gray flooring, that day has not only arrived, but it has also long since passed. The percentage of people choosing gray-toned floors has dropped to 10%, while warm wood tones have surged to 46%. The market has voted, and gray clearly lost. In Texas, a house with millennial gray flooring can see its price slashed by $15,000 to $25,000 right during negotiations. Buyers look at gray floors and think, as bleak as a hospital. They do not debate aesthetics. They directly deduct the cost of demolition and installing new flooring straight from the purchase price. On paper, you might think you did not lose anything, but having $15,000 to $25,000 disappear from the sale price is exactly the same as losing it. Gray flooring has a side effect that few people warn you about beforehand. It sucks the warmth right out of a room. You can place a warm-toned sofa, lay down a wool rug, and hang cream curtains, and it still will not feel cozy, because 300 to 400 square feet of flooring underneath is dragging the tone of the entire space down into a cold state, and no amount of furniture can compensate enough. The organic modern style is dominating in 2026, and it brings with it light cream travertine, not the old dark yellow kind, but a light sophisticated cream, alongside matte stone look porcelain tiles. This type of flooring creates a vacation vibe, like a holiday resort right inside your home. That is something gray flooring can never achieve. If you have already installed gray flooring and are not ready to replace it yet, use a large warm-toned area rug big enough to cover most of the floor in the living area. Choose wood furniture in natural tones instead of painted white or gray. And do not pile on any more cool elements. There is another type of tile I need to talk about. In the showroom, it looks bright, glossy, and luxurious. At home, you will spend more time mopping it than admiring it. And that is not even the worst part. 4. High-gloss finish tile. 5-star hotels use glossy tile in their lobbies because they have a cleaning crew mopping the floor every day, sometimes every hour. You do not. And that is pretty much the entire story with this type of tile in residential homes. High-gloss tiles, especially the polished faux marble kind, have been classified as outdated by American designers. When the installers have just finished laying it and no one has stepped on it yet, it looks very luxurious. But from the very first day you move in, every footprint, every water drop, and every speck of dust shows up clearly on the surface. You finish mopping, go brew a cup of coffee, and come back only to see smudges. The glossy surface reflects everything, including things you do not want to see. A few weeks later, you realize you are mopping the floor every day not because it is dirty, but because it looks dirty. The result is the same. You are still holding the mop. High-gloss tile becomes as slippery as an ice skating rink when wet. The bathroom, kitchen, entryway. What area in a house does not get wet once in a while? The CDC reports that falls are the leading cause of home injuries for people over 65. Having elderly family members or young children in a house laid with slippery surfaces everywhere, that is no longer a matter of aesthetics. It is a health hazard. Glossy tile is also very prone to scratching. Pulling a dining chair, dragging a bar stool, or fine dust and grit tracked in from shoes, all of these create micro scratches. At first, you do not see them. After 2 to 3 years, the light shines at an angle and the surface reveals patchy, uneven loss of gloss. It cannot be repolished. Replace the tile or live with it. Those are your only two options. And it makes a space look aged faster than any other type of flooring. Mate, satin, or textured tiles solve almost this entire checklist of problems. If you like the beauty of marble, look into honed Carrara or Calicotta, honed marble instead of polished. Light, neutral-tone travertine is also highly favored right now. For a lower budget, high-quality stone-look porcelain tiles, the kind with low print repetition in a box, in warm tones of beige, cream, and light brown, provide an aesthetic effect very close to natural stone with almost zero maintenance. High-end matte tile looks just as luxurious as glossy tile, and luxury design has completely shifted toward matte. If you like bright and reflective spaces, let natural light and mirrors do that job. Large glass doors, strategically placed mirrors, and walls painted in bright tones. All of these create brightness without turning your floor into a trap every time someone steps out of the bathroom with wet feet. 5. Polished concrete floors. In photos, polished concrete floors look very artistic. An industrial loft, natural light streaming at an angle through large glass windows, and a few minimalist pieces of furniture, perfect for a photograph. But trying to live with it every day is a completely different story. The industrial loft and brutalist minimalism trends have driven many homeowners to pour polished concrete for their entire first floor, and most of them are now regretting it. Concrete is hard and cold. That is its physical nature, and no one can change it. Standing to cook for 30 to 45 minutes on a concrete floor, you feel it clearly in your heels and lower back. Walking barefoot on a winter morning feels like stepping onto a block of ice. And unlike hardwood or LVP, which have an underlayment beneath to absorb impact, concrete returns 100% of the force from every single step. Concrete also has a natural characteristic that no one can avoid: cracking. Slight foundation settling, seasonal temperature changes, concrete shrinkage, all lead to cracks over time. And these cracks are not artistic at all, as some people try to comfort themselves. They look messy, trap dirt and dust, and get wider over time. You cannot fix a crack in polished concrete. You can only patch it temporarily and accept it. Furthermore, no one will tell you before pouring that concrete floors have an immense amount of echo. Every footstep, every dropped object, every chair dragged echoes throughout the house. The space sounds hollow and noisy, like a warehouse. On top of that, when a polished concrete surface gets wet, it is no less slippery than high-gloss tile. The exact same safety risk we just talked about. If you like the raw and minimalist beauty of concrete, architects today favor a much safer solution: large format, matte finish concrete look porcelain tiles. This gives you the exact look you want: a gray concrete surface, light texture, and an industrial feel, but without the cracking, the slipperiness, or the freezing cold feet, and it is much easier to install compared to pouring real concrete. You get the aesthetic without having to pay the price that real concrete forces you to pay every single day. The next type of flooring will force you to get down on your knees and scrub every single grout line every week, and you will never get them completely clean. 6. Mosaic tiles in the bathroom. Penny tiles, hex tiles, small mosaics. They all have one thing in common. They create hundreds of grout lines in a small area. And every single one of those grout lines is a place where dirt, shed hair, soap scum, and dirty water from humans and pets will cling to and stay. The bathroom is already the dirtiest place in the house. Laying the type of tile that creates the most gaps in the absolute dirtiest spot. That is not smart design. In photos, penny tiles look like they have a lot of vintage charm. In reality, after 6 months of use, those white grout lines start turning yellow and then transition to a dark gray in areas that get wet often. You scrub with a brush, you use chemical cleaners. It stays clean for a few days and then goes right back. I have seen homeowners on their knees scrubbing bathroom grout every week and still failing to keep it white. That is not how anyone should spend their weekend. Buyers today are very pragmatic. They value their time. When they tour a house and see a bathroom laid with penny tiles or small mosaics, their first reaction isn't, "Oh, how cute," but rather, "How many grout lines am I going to have to scrub every week?" The 2026 trend goes in the exact opposite direction. Large format tiles, or large slabs, to minimize grout lines as much as possible. The fewer the grout lines, the fewer places for dirt to cling to, and the less time you have to spend kneeling on the bathroom floor. If you are choosing tile for a bathroom, start from 12 by 12 inches or 12 by 24 inches and up with a matte finish. Another choice that is currently very popular is waterproof stone look LVP, especially in charcoal or dark tones, because it has no grout lines and hides dirt much better than light-colored tile. And speaking of light colors, pure white tile in the bathroom is a parallel mistake. Every fallen hair strand, every water stain, and every speck of dust shows up prominently on a white background. Go a little darker, and you will save yourself a lot of stress, and your house will lose value even if it is not damaged or outdated just because you chose the wrong color. 7. Red/orange-toned wood flooring. This might be the most expensive mistake on today's list because we are talking about natural hardwood floors, something that is not cheap to begin with. Cherry, mahogany, red-stained oak. These red and orange tones were once the pinnacle of luxury in the 90s and early 2000s. Whichever house had cherry floors was a house with money. But aesthetics change, and in 2026, these tones are on the wrong side of history. Red and orange tones make a space look darker and more cramped than it actually is. In a room lacking natural light, a cherry or mahogany floor absorbs light instead of reflecting it, visually pulling the ceiling lower and creating a suffocating feeling. It goes completely against the open, airy space trend that the market is demanding. Buyers step into a house with red/orange-toned floors, and their first reaction is usually, "It's too dark," even before they have a chance to evaluate the layout or lighting. And because this is natural wood, the cost of replacement is by no means cheap. You cannot just stick something over it, and you cannot give it a quick coat of paint. Refinishing the wood floors for an entire first floor, sanding it down and restaining it to a different tone, can cost $3 to $8 per square foot depending on the area. For a 1,500 square foot wood-floored home, that is $4,500 to $12,000. It is expensive, but it is still much cheaper than replacing the entire floor with a new one. If your home currently has red/orange-toned wood floors, and the wood is still thick enough to be sanded down, that is actually good news. Natural wood has an advantage that LVP or tile does not. You can sand it down and restain it. Switching from a cherry red to a light European white oak tone or a medium walnut will completely change the feel of the house without needing to replace the flooring. If you are not ready to refinish yet, use a large area rug in a bright or cool tone to neutralize some of the red/orange. It is not perfect, but it is a significant improvement. When choosing new wood flooring or refinishing, the leading tones in 2026 are European white oak and American white oak with a matte or satin finish. A 4 to 6 inch plank width for a traditional style and 7 inches or wider for a modern look. HGTV has sold millions of Americans a flooring style that is now cracking, warping, and losing value. You might be standing on it right now. 8. Ultrawide pale farmhouse planks. Modern farmhouse dominated American interior design for many years, and wood flooring was where that style manifested most clearly. Ultra-wide planks, over 10 inches, in bleached tones or wood colors so light that they lost almost all their grain. Joanna Gaines and an entire generation of HGTV pushed this trend to its peak. But in 2026, modern farmhouse has declined, and so has the flooring that came with it. Ultra-wide wood planks have a technical issue that many people do not know about when choosing them. The wider the plank, the more prone it is to cupping, a phenomenon where the board surface warps due to humidity. In states with major climate swings between humid summers and dry winters, which covers most of the United States, planks over 10 inches expand and contract significantly more than 7 to 8 inch planks. As a result, the floor begins to cup, gaps open up between boards, and squeaking sounds appear when walked on. The floor fails much faster than its designed lifespan. Aesthetically, bleached or overly pale tones leave a space lacking depth. The room looks washed out, flat, and devoid of warmth. It creates an artificial feel. You know it is wood, but it does not look like wood or feel like wood. And that is the ultimate irony. You chose a wood floor because you wanted natural beauty, and then you bleached it to the point where it lost all its natural character. In 2026, when quiet luxury and authenticity are the keywords, this type of flooring is on the wrong side. If you like wide plank wood flooring for a modern feel, 7 to 9 inches is the sweet spot. It is wide enough to look contemporary, yet narrow enough to remain technically stable during changing climate conditions. And instead of bleaching, look into deeper, warm neutral tones. Honey oak, caramel, or light walnut. These are tones with depth, warmth, and a natural beauty that the eyes can truly see. The most beautiful wood floor of the year is not a wood floor that looks like it is not wood. It is a wood floor that proudly looks exactly like wood. The keywords for this year are authenticity and restraint. Any material that is intentionally fake or deliberately attention-grabbing is being weeded out by the market very quickly. A floor is not just to be looked at, it is to be walked on barefoot every single day. Choose something that you will still want to step on 10 years from now, not something you will want to cover up with a rug 6 months later.